Yo guys, welcome to the Zelda Fiction. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto learnt Fuinjutsu and got harem with Hanabi, Hinata and Tenten. Part 1. Huge shout out to vanmele for this story. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Naruto walked out of the academy muttering under his breath about stupid clones. While he was walking he saw his instructor and another teacher talking to each other. Naruto ran up to him and asked, "Hey Sekiten, sensei, can you help me with my clones? They always look like they're dying when I do the jutsu." Sekiten answered with a fake smile, "Sorry Naruto, but the year is over, you will have to wait until next year." "But what am I going to do for the next 2 months?" Naruto asked. The Chunin thought for a moment and said, "How about this?" While reaching into his weapon pouch and pulled out a scroll. "This is a Fuinjutsu scroll, work on this over the summer," handing the scroll over to Naruto. "What's Fuinjutsu?" Naruto asked with a confused look on his face. "It's the sealing arts. Have you ever wondered how some of the teachers get weapons out of scrolls?" The teacher asked. Naruto nodded his head and Sekiten continued, "That is Fuinjutsu, and even the Hokage knows some Fuinjutsu. The fourth was a Fuinjutsu master." Naruto, hearing that his idol was great at Fuinjutsu, was more than enough for him to accept the scroll. "Thanks Sekiten, sensei, I'll master this scroll in no time," Naruto said as he started to walk home leaving the two Chunin by themselves. The Chunin with Sekiten asked, "Why did you give the demon that scroll?" Sekiten snorted and answered, "Like that brat could learn the sealing arts. It's one of the hardest arts to learn." His friend nodded, "I suppose you're right, even I have trouble with the basics." "Come on, let's get out of here," Sekiten said as they two left the academy. Naruto ran all the way to his apartment holding onto the scroll tightly. When he got to his apartment he cleaned off the table in his kitchen of all the empty ramen containers and opened the scroll and started to read. Naruto read the first 2 feet of the scroll and got out some ink and paper. The scroll suggested that Naruto practice calligraphy before getting into drawing seals. The scroll had an example of some words written in calligraphy, so Naruto gave those words a try. It was about an hour before Naruto decided that while his handwriting wasn't too bad, he was going to have to work on it. Naruto was going to need a book on calligraphy. He would have to go to the library, but he knew that the old bat that ran it wouldn't let him in. But lucky for Naruto, stealth was one of his best skills, so that shouldn't be a problem. That night Naruto was able to get a few books on calligraphy and he started to practice. His handwriting wasn't that bad to begin with, so it took about a week before he attempted his first seal. The first few days were frustrating as he would look at the scroll and draw the seal, but there were small mistakes, so when he got his first storage seal to not blow up on activation Naruto was ecstatic. With that it only took another week to learn all that the scroll had to offer. Now that Naruto had mastered that scroll and the library didn't have any more on Fuinjutsu for some reason, he was headed to the Hokage's office. When he got there he said hi to the secretary, a young woman who was always nice to him, and walked into his Sarutobi Jiji's office. Sarutobi greeted Naruto as he walked in and gave him a break from all the paperwork. "Hello there Naruto, how can I help you today?" Naruto smiled as he sat in one of the chairs and said, "Hi Jiji, I came to say hi and ask you something." "What is it you wanted to ask me Naruto?" Sarutobi asked. "Well, I started to learn Fuinjutsu and I was wondering if you had some books I could borrow," Naruto asked. Sarutobi looked a bit surprised and asked, "Really Naruto, Fuinjutsu is a very complicated and dangerous art to use, if not used right." Naruto took out the scroll that his teacher gave him and the one he made. "I got this scroll from my sensei, he gave me this scroll after I failed to make one of those stupid clones. It was pretty easy to do and I even made this other scroll to hold all my weapons in," demonstrating by poofing out a kunai. Sarutobi asked, "So you have only had that scroll for 2 weeks, Naruto nodded and the Hokage thought for a moment, "That is pretty good for someone who just started. Maybe I could give Naruto his parents' Fuinjutsu books, they have some of their notes on them. It could help him a lot." The Hokage got up and went to a storage room in his office and moved some boxes to where a safe was. After entering the combination and some quick hand seals, the safe opened. In the safe were several scrolls. He took them out of the safe and went back to his desk. He tossed the scrolls to Naruto, who nearly dropped them. "What are these?" Naruto asked as he looked at the white scrolls with the numbers 1 through 4 on them. "A friend of mine liked seals and these are his scrolls with his notes in them." The Sarutobi said, "You can have these." "But they aren't mine," said Naruto. "The friend I'm talking about is no longer with us and he would want someone to learn from him." "Sealing was one of his best arts," Sarutobi said. Naruto thought for a moment and said, "Okay Gigi, I'll work as hard as I can to master Fuinjutsu and make you and your friend proud." Then ran up to his Gigi and gave him a hug and said, "Thank you." "Now Naruto, about the academy," said Sarutobi, "you will be put with your age group next year. I think we were getting a little ahead of ourselves sending you in 2 years early." "Okay Gigi, I better go so you can get back to your paperwork," said Naruto. The Hokage looked at his paperwork that seemed to double in size since he last looked at it and sweat-dropped. "Alright Naruto, be sure to be in room 213 at the academy when the break is over," Sarutobi said. "See you later," Naruto said as he ran out of the room. Well, their son would take an interest in seals. If this pans out, we could have another seal master in the village, Sarutobi thought. Over the next month and a half Naruto studied the first scroll, which had 15 books in it. He got through the first 2 and was working on the third. He even thought up some new pranks with the seals that he knew. He went to class early on his first day to put what he had learned to use. Naruto got in and there wasn't anyone there yet, so he got to work. He got done with only a few minutes to spare, so he sat down in the back of the class and waited for the show. The class began to fill up and as the bell was about to ring, Naruto's new teacher came in. He had brown hair, tan skin, and a scar over his nose. "My name is Irika Yumino. I'm introducing myself because we have a new student with us today," Irika said, and everyone looked at Naruto. "Why don't you introduce yourself?" Naruto smiled at getting all this attention and said, "Hi, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like ramen, Fuinjutsu, and pranking. I don't dislike many things and my dream is to be Hokage." Naruto said the last part with excitement. Irika frowned a little at the pranking part but smiled at what Naruto's dream was and said, "That's a good dream Naruto, and you have a lot of work if you want to reach it, and please don't pull any pranks in class." The grin across Naruto's face wasn't a good sign. "I can't promise that Irika-sensei," Naruto said. Irika sighed and went to pick up some papers on his desk, unknowingly triggering the seal that was under it. The next thing he knew was that all but his head, which was blocked by the papers he was picking up, was covered in orange paint. There was an outline of him on the blackboard. At this point most of the class was snickering and Naruto and Kida nearly fell out of their chairs. To say the least, Naruto spent his first attention after school. It had been 3 months since Naruto started in his new class. He quickly made friends with Choji and Shikamaru, but, for Naruto, class was as boring as ever. If you sat behind him you could see that most of the time he had his textbook open. There was a Fuinjutsu scroll in it that he was reading. This caught the attention of Sasuke's twin sister Sasuke. What about Fuinjutsu had him so interested, and there were the pranks he was pulling. The paint launcher was just the first. He had transported a bucket of eggs on to their other teacher's, Mizuki, head. He had also been able to cover Irika in feathers that were sealed to not come off until the chakra in the seal ended or Naruto cancelled the seal. Within a half hour of that one, Irika caved with letting Naruto off of punishment to stop the snickering. Sasuke wondered what about seals had him so interested, other than the pranks that he was pulling. She thought that Fuinjutsu was just for sealing items and making bombs, but apparently that isn't all it could do. And today she was going to find out more about their new classmate and his interest in Fuinjutsu. Sasuke noted that the last few days Naruto had been going to the training grounds after class and she was going to find out why. That day after school she followed Naruto to the training grounds. It wasn't like anyone was home waiting for her at home, and her brother was too busy in his own world to notice that she wasn't there. When Sasuke got to the training ground she saw Naruto checking over 2 sealing tags that were about twice as big as the standard explosive tag. He set them up on 2 trees in the training area and she hopped into a tree wondering what they were going to do. Naruto touched the tags for a moment, they glowed blue for a moment and he stepped back. He unsealed a windmill shuriken and threw it between the seals. The moment that the shuriken got in between the seals they shot out blue tendrils and caught the shuriken. Naruto was about to jump for joy when the seals overloaded and blew up. Sasuke was so engrossed in the jutsu that when it exploded, it surprised her and she fell out of the tree that she was in. After she hit the ground, she groaned and slowly got up. Naruto saw her and said, "Who's there?" Sasuke came into the field where Naruto could see her and said, "Hey Naruto." "Sasuke, what are you doing here?" Naruto said, recognizing her from class. "I was wondering why you found seals so interesting, so I decided to come and see what you could do with them," Sasuke answered. Naruto looked at her confused and said, "Why didn't you just ask? It wouldn't be that hard to tell you why I like seals." "Okay, why do you like seals?" Sasuke asked. "Well, at first it was to kill time over the summer after the academy last year, but when I started to learn I found out all that a seal could do," Naruto answered. "I mean, if you are advanced enough and know the right sealing formula, you can do jutsu without hand seals." Naruto finished excitedly. Sasuke thought of the advantages that could give her and the fact that Naruto didn't use hand seal for his pranks. That would be a great advantage in a fight, Sasuke thought. Maybe he could teach me something on seals. "Naruto, could you teach me about seals?" Sasuke asked. Naruto was stunned for a moment, he never thought she would say that. He thought that she would just nod and walk away. She normally only talked to Hinata and Hanabi, the Uchiha twins, and these conversations were normally brief, never lasting too long. Naruto didn't know that they were the only people she could have a decent conversation with. All the other girls were fangirls of the last Uchiha, even the Yamanaka heir Ino was a fangirl, and that disgusted Sasuke. Naruto answered about 30 seconds later and said, "Sure." He was happy to have a new friend and someone to bounce ideas off of. Naruto pulled out the first scroll he got and tossed it to Sasuke. She caught it and Naruto started to explain to her the basics. Over the next month Sasuke got to know Naruto after school and he would help her with the basics of Fuinjutsu. Most of the month was spent in the Uchiha library writing seals and getting better handwriting. Naruto looked through the library and was amazed at all the books but disappointed when the Fuinjutsu portion was so small. Over the next month there were times when Sasuke would get frustrated with Naruto for his stupidity, but, after getting to know him she realized her mistake. It wasn't that Naruto was stupid, it was that he was ignorant from basically raising himself. Therefore, she decided to help out with that. When he had those moments of ignorance, she would help explain things to him and let him use the Uchiha library. They got along well and would spar once in a while when Sasuke got frustrated with seals. She was even able to help him a bit in his taijutsu. She also introduced Naruto to Hinata and Hanabi. Naruto was happy to have some new friends and help them learn seals too. Even though Naruto was confused as to why Hinata got all red and fainted all the time. Sasuke on the other hand found it hilarious and teased the poor girl when they were alone. Sasuke decided to keep Naruto ignorant of her feelings so she could have more fun. Naruto was able to explain to different levels of Fuinjutsu users. They were all at the beginner level in seals, which is just be able to understand basic formulas. The next level is an expert, they can deconstruct basic and intermediate level seals and can start to make some more challenging seals. The next level is a journeyman who in the old days would travel from place to place studying seals to broaden their knowledge, but now there are lots of sealing books so traveling isn't always necessary. Then there are seal masters who can deconstruct all kinds of seals and have at least 5 seals of their own making. So now that they were training together, they made a schedule for what they would do throughout the week. So it came to studying seals Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. They spar on Tuesday and Thursday and they study whatever they want on Saturday with Sunday off. This was the routine for the next 6 months. In those 6 months they all got quite a bit stronger. Naruto was almost done with the 10th book in the first scroll, and his taijutsu got better, finding that the hard fist style was a good fit, even if he bastardized it a little. He also got into elemental jutsu when he saw Sasuke's fire style, Great Fireball Jutsu. He hadn't learned any but is reading some of the different kinds. Sasuke was getting better at seals but not even close to Naruto's level. She could use basic chakra seals to lock doors and scrolls, trap seals, and pretty good explosive seals. They were more advanced than the ones sold in most ninja stores, so she thought she was doing pretty well. Her taijutsu was getting better too, but what do you expect fighting 3 opponents at once? She learned 2 or 3 new fire jutsu but was working more on her seals. Hinata and Hanabi were at about the same place in seals, with the exception that Hinata was also working on healing seals. They both got better at the uchiha fighting style. Hanabi was still better at the fighting style. With Hinata having the better chakra control and working with her friends, especially Naruto, her confidence went up a little. They both were able to turn on and off their Byakugan without hand seals by the end of the 6 months. It was a Friday after school and everyone but Naruto was at one of the more forested training grounds, as they had just found the tree waking chakra control exercise. Hinata was already at the top of the tree and Hanabi and Sasuke were making steady progress. Hinata sat on one of the taller branches looking down, asked, "I wonder where Naruto-kun is." "Probably working on that seal that we saw last night," Hanabi answered. "He was working on it pretty intently last night." "I hope it isn't anything dangerous," Hinata said. Sasuke snorted, like we could do anything to stop him. Hanabi nodded at that. The Hokage couldn't stop Naruto when he's working on a seal that he is fixated on. Hinata sighed and nodded her head. Naruto could be quite stubborn when he was working on seals. At this moment Naruto ran into the clearing and had one of the biggest smiles on his face that they had ever seen. He looked for them for a moment, spotting them up several of the trees, and ran up to them. "It's finished," Naruto said. "So what is it this time?" Sasuke asked while hanging upside down on a tree branch. Naruto was about to speak when he closed his mouth and took out a seal, placed it on the ground, and the field glowed blue for a moment. They recognized the privacy barrier. It was a round barrier that went about 20 meters from what they saw. That was an improvement over the last time they saw him make this barrier. They wondered what Naruto was going to show them. "What is the new seal you wanted to show us, Naruto-kun?" Hinata asked curiously. Naruto stood up and said, "I'm glad you asked, Hinata-chan. You see, I made a seal that will help us with our training speed quite a bit." They all looked surprised at this and Sasuke asked, "What seal is that?" Before answering, Naruto took off his jacket and shirt, which turned Hinata's face red as she put her hands over her eyes with an eep. That didn't stop her from looking through her fingers at Naruto. Sasuke and Hanabi, seeing Hinata's reaction, giggled a little, and Hanabi asked, "Not that Hinata doesn't like the show that you're giving her, but why did you take your shirt off?" Naruto looked confused at the first part but answered, "Because the seal is on my chest." Sasuke looked amused at Naruto's confusion and the fact that he still hadn't figured out that Hinata has a crush on him. Sasuke said, "You still don't get girls, Naruto. Anyway, what is the seal?" Naruto looked between the girls, trying to figure out what the girls were talking about for a moment before shrugging and putting his hands into the ram seal and channeling chakra through his body. The effect was immediate as a seal appeared on his heart and stomach. The first one over this heart had a round center and a 2 in it. Then around that was a bigger circle that had interlocking circles in between the 2 circles, and on the other side of that circle was a web-like design that went out 2 rows. He had another one on his stomach that looked like a sun that had a swirl in the middle that had 8 lines going out from that swirl. Naruto answered while pointing at his heart, "This is the chakra absorption and resistant seals. The resistant seal will make us stronger and faster. The chakra absorption will take some of our chakra while we improve our control, and it will give us more back when we increase our control or get low. The other one I'm still trying to figure out. All I know for sure is that it isn't hurting me, has a lot of security, and is containing something huge." "Interesting, so you're going to give us the chakra absorption and resistance seals to all of us?" Sasuke asked. "Yeah," Naruto said with a smile, "it will take about an hour to put on the seal and we'll be good to go." "What do you two think?" Sasuke asked. "Do you girls want the seal?" Hinata wouldn't turn down a gift from Naruto and said, "I think it's a good idea if it will make us stronger." Hanabi nodded her head and said, I think it's a good idea as well, but how did you put the seal on your chest by yourself? Naruto looked a little tired when she asked that and said, it wasn't easy, writing the seal from the reflection in a mirror, but I got it done. So Naruto, how do we get started? Sasuke asked, knowing this seal would be complicated. Naruto blushed a little and said, well, I'm going to need you to take off your shirts first. Take off my shirt. Hinata stuttered with a shocked look and a huge blush on her face. Yo, you can't be serious. Naruto sighed, I won't lie to you guys. In order for me to give you these seals, I have to write them as close to your heart as possible. It uses your heart as a center point for the resistance seal to spread from, and the chakra absorption seal needs to be over one of the 8 inner gates to absorb the chakra from. So over the heart is the best place to put this seal. Naruto finished with a blush on his face. So putting it on our hearts will make the seal the most effective, right? It's not just you wanting to see us with our tops off, Hanabi said. Naruto nodded his head and Hanabi, having no problem with this, started to take off her shirt. Hinata, shocked at her sister's action, said, Ha Hanabi, what are you doing? Hanabi, not surprised at her sister's action, had not fully taken off her shirt, said, Naruto said it was the only place to put it and I see no lies in his eyes. Hinata considered her sister's point and said, I don't think he would lie about this just to see us nude, but still, blushing harder at the last part. Naruto was about to step in to stop a fight before it started when Sasuke put a hand on his shoulder. She said, turn around for a moment Naruto, let me talk to Hinata for a moment, and walked over to Hinata when Naruto had turned away from them. Sasuke walked behind Hinata and whispered in her ear, there's nothing to be embarrassed about Hinata, it's just friends helping each other out. What if Naruto doesn't like what he sees, Hinata whispered as she fidgeted in Sasuke's grasp. Sasuke had seen what Hinata looked like under her jacket and thought, then he's either gay or beyond help in the intelligence department. She said, you have nothing to worry about Hinata, you're beautiful, and in a few years Naruto won't be able to keep his hands off you, with a smile that grew the redder Hinata's face got. With Naruto turned around, Sasuke got in front of Hinata and unzipped her jacket. Hanabi, figuring out what Sasuke was doing, got behind Hinata and pulled the jacket off. Hinata was frozen in shock that her sister and Sasuke were striping her in front of Naruto. Hinata had a body that most 15-year-olds would be jealous of, with a mid-high B cup at the age of 12. After that her shirt and chain mail were off too, leaving her in only her bra. With that done, Sasuke and Hanabi took off their tops, leaving them in their bras also, which soon fell off too. Sasuke was at a large A cup and quite proud of that, and Hanabi was just under her sister with a solid B cup. Sasuke got behind a still shocked Hinata and popped her bra off. Get ready Hinata, Sasuke said as Hinata put her hands to cover herself as Sasuke called Naruto to turn around. When he did, his jaw nearly hit the ground as he got a good look at them. Hinata was covering herself with her arm, but he could still see a lot more than he usually does. Sasuke was beside Hinata with her hands behind her back, and Hanabi just had one hand on her hip waiting to continue. Sasuke saw that Naruto seemed to have frozen and was just staring at them. She smiled and said, do you like what you see, Naruto-kun? Naruto nodded his head slowly and said, wow, sorry for, wow. Wah, what were we doing? Sasuke said, you were going to give us your new seal. That is, if you remember it after looking at us. Hinata at his point was giving a good impression of a tomato, and Hanabi even had a small blush on her face. It was good to know she could make Naruto speechless. Why don't you start with Hinata, Naruto-kun? Naruto nodded and unsealed a futon so they could lay on it while he applied the seal. Yeah, Hinata, please lie down on this while I get the ink ready. Doing as he told her, she laid down and tried to relax as her crush came over and knelt at her side and said, try to relax Hinata, you're beautiful. Hinata blushed harder if that was possible and said, go ahead Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded and he got started to draw on the left side of her chest. She giggled cause it tickled, and Naruto smiled and said, it's good to see you smile, but try not to laugh. The faster I get this done, the faster you can put your shirt back on. Hinata nodded and let him continue. Sasuke and Hanabi looked at the seal being written. The first one was done in about 20 minutes and the sealing language covered a little move then half her chest. Naruto ran through a few hand seal and put his hand on the center of the seal which was Hinata's breast. Hinata had never been so embarrassed and it could have been her imagination but she thought she felt Naruto squeeze a little. The next seal took about the same amount of time as the first and as Naruto activated this one something surprised Hinata. It started to spread to cover her arms and legs and put her in pain. Hinata looked with pain on her face and said confused, "It who hurts Naruto-kun. You didn't say it would who hurt." Naruto looked a little sad and said, "I know Hinata-chan, I was afraid that it would scare you into not wanting it. It will be over soon." "No fair," Hinata moaned out. But like he said it was over a few moments later. She was breathing a little hard but the seal was done. She looked down and it looked just like Naruto's only with a 0 in the circle. Hanabi asked a little concerned, "Are you okay, how did it feel?" "I'm okay, it felt like when you get a bad scrap but all over," Hinata answered. After that Hanabi was the same way but when Naruto was about to start on Sasuke saw a small scar about 2 inches long where the center over the seal was going to go. Naruto looked a bit confused because it looked like a stab wound but that wasn't possible. If she was stabbed there it would have gone through her heart. Sasuke saw where he was looking inside, "Naruto, my heart isn't on the left side, it's on the right." Naruto looked even more confused so she elaborated, "I have dextrocardia, it's a condition where all my organs were made on the opposite side they were supposed to." "That doesn't explain the scar over where your heart is supposed to be," Naruto said. Sasuke smiled ruefully and said, "It was a parting gift from my older brother." Hinata and Hanabi's eyes widened at that as they knew all about the Uchiha massacre and knew that Sasuke escaped that fate on a technicality. Naruto, not being in a clan, didn't know all the details about the demise of the Uchiha. "Your brother Sasuke stabbed you," Naruto said shocked. "No Naruto, it was our eldest brother, Itachi is the one who stabbed me through my chest and he is also the one who massacred my clan," Sasuke said. Naruto was speechless and she continued, "I probably used up all my luck that day when he ran me through and didn't check if I was dead. I lived because of a medical abnormality. That is why I try to have fun every day, not brood like Sasuke does." "How can you move on from something like that?" Hinata asked. "I didn't have much of a choice, it was either that or I end up like Sasuke, and I don't want that," Sasuke said. "Not that I wouldn't jump at the chance to kill Itachi, I'm just not going to go out of my way to find him." "How could someone do that to their own family?" Naruto said, finally coming out of his shock. "I don't know Naruto-kun, but it isn't something that you have to worry about," Sasuke said as she stroked his cheek. She continued, "Now can you give me the seal, Naruto-kun, I'm getting a little cold." This brought Naruto out of his slightly angry state and got to work on the right side of her chest. After that he explained a bit more about the seals. Naruto explained how to raise the resistance seal's level by channeling chakra to the seal and how to make it go to 0 by making the bird seal and saying Kai. After that they did some light sparring to get used to level 1. At the end of the day it was just Naruto and Sasuke sitting in a comfortable silence when Naruto said, "Sasuke, if you ever do find Itachi, don't go after him by yourself." Sasuke smiled, "I won't Naruto, that is what I have friends for." With that said they got up and went their separate ways. Naruto was in the Uchiha library working on the security seals for most of the jutsu and ninja related information scrolls for all the people in Naruto's little study group. There were obviously no Uchiha seal masters and few journeymen because it didn't take too long for Naruto to break some of the low-level jutsu in a section on something called Hinjutsu, whatever that was. Naruto's curiosity getting the better of him, he grabbed a scroll on Hinjutsu and started to read. It was a scroll on female anatomy and pleasure and pain nerves. Naruto's first thought was to put it back on the shelf but for some reason he couldn't, and before long there were 2 more scrolls on the table in front of him. One was on the same subject, the other was a jutsu. Sasuke walked into the library with a box of poki in her hand looking to see if Naruto had made any progress. She came to see Naruto reading a scroll with a blush on his face and raised an eyebrow. "Naruto, how's it going with the seals?" Sasuke asked and picked up one of the scrolls he was looking at. Naruto nearly jumped out of his skin when Sasuke talked and scrambled to grab the scrolls that were on the table. Unfortunately for Naruto, Sasuke had already grabbed one and sat down to read it. Naruto was sweating bullets as Sasuke continued to read, and worst of all, Naruto couldn't see her reaction on her face because of the scroll. "Naruto," Sasuke said, enjoying some little reading. "This isn't what it looks like," Naruto said quickly. "Really, Naruto, because it looks like you are looking into the art of seduction," Sasuke said in an even voice while continuing to read. "I just wanted to know what Fuinjutsu was," Naruto said. Sasuke looked up from the scroll. "I think that would be obvious with the first scroll, not the first 3 scrolls," she said. "Well, it was, interesting," Naruto said. "Do you not like me anymore?" Naruto asked nervously. "No, Naruto, just because you read these I don't think and less of you, Naruto. I would be concerned if you weren't interested in the female body," Sasuke said, putting down the scroll and running her hands down the sides of her body. Naruto watched her hands the entire time and it made Sasuke smile. "Naruto," she said, getting his attention back to her face, "when you were reading these scrolls, whose body did you see?" "Mine." "Hinata's?" "Hanabi's?" she asked. Naruto, who was not expecting that at all, couldn't put together the words to answer. Sasuke, still smiling, continued, "I mean, you have seen yous all topless." To tell you the truth, all 4 of us." Naruto answered. "You mean you doing this to us?" Sasuke asked. Naruto answered, "Yes and no. I have thought of that and what I would look like as a girl." "Really?" Sasuke said. "Yeah, and while I was thinking about it I thought of something." Sasuke, "Why is yours, and a few others I've seen, girls' bodies developing so quickly?" Naruto asked. Sasuke nodded her head at that. It was a good question and one she had the answer to. Girls who take their ninja training seriously and have higher levels of chakra will find that their bodies develop faster so the body can keep up and control their chakra better. I think it's the same for boys too. So all the girls chasing your brother complaining about their development in class would just have to train harder, Naruto said. Sasuke nodded and said, yes they would, those in clans like Ino would grow a little faster than Sakura would because being a ninja's in their blood. With that said, she looked back at the scroll, made any progress on the seals. Naruto relaxed and nodded, yeah, I got some of the low-level jutsu unlocked but the seals are getting more complicated and compact so it is hard to see them all. Don't worry Naruto, you've got plenty of time, Sasuke said. After that he got back to work. Over the next 2 months Naruto learned that he was a wind user and even learned a jutsu with it, wind style, great breakthrough. He also started to increase his chakra control and wind chakra, but that was slow going at best. He continued to study Fuinjutsu in his spare time but only Sasuke knew he studied that. Sasuke would even help him a few times but Naruto had only given her a few messages after long spars. He was getting good at those and, you know what they say, practice makes perfect. Sasuke knew where Naruto was at now, Hinata would be putty in his hands. He was getting better every time she got a message, and she was getting to know what to look for if someone was trying to seduce her. She is the last female of her clan. The school year was over and summer just started and Naruto and his friends were training in an empty training field. Naruto had a leaf in his hands and was trying to split it. Sasuke was doing the fire chakra exercise, which was to burn a leaf to ash in just 1 second. Hinata and Hanabi were working on the uchiha fighting style but it was apparent who was better at it. Hanabi was at home with the rigid and quick strike style of the uchiha clan but Hinata on the other hand was having problems getting her body to stay rigid. It disabled one of her best advantages. Hinata was much more naturally flexible and the uchiha style just didn't use that. Naruto was getting frustrated with the wind control exercise. He could only cut the leaf about halfway and he had been working on this for a little over 2 months. It didn't help that Sasuke was closer to completing her exercise but it still took about 10 seconds to burn the leaf. So he decided to finish a seal he had been working on for a little while. The new seal Naruto was working on was a chakra sensor seal that would display any chakra within a 200-meter area. He had gotten that part to work and the people in the training area were displayed on a 2 feet by 2 feet page of scroll. It worked great, but Naruto was trying to expand the seal's range. It took about an hour, but he finally got the seal to expand its range to that of 2 kilometers. When it worked, Naruto was ecstatic and started to look at some of the new chakra signals. They were in the training ground area, so there weren't many more, but he did see 3 new signals. At least he thought there were 3 because one kept going in and out. At first he thought there was something wrong with his seal, or they were at the edge of the seal's range. But he soon figured that wasn't it, because there was one of the chakras that was even farther away than the flickering one. Naruto called everyone over and asked what they thought. The seal is working fine, but this one person keeps going in and out. Hinata answered, could it be that the person is hurt? Naruto thought for a moment and said, it could be. Let's go check it out, Hanabi said. They all nodded and headed off. They headed to the next training ground and looked for the 3 people on the radar. They got there and it wasn't too hard to find the 3 people, or should I say women. The first one was a woman with black hair that went to her shoulders with red eyes who was sparring. She wore what looked like white bandages with mesh armor under it with one red sleeve. The person she was sparring with was a girl whom was their age with brown hair that went to mid-back with a bard going down the left side of her face. She was wearing a simple purple kimono that had wraps around the middle with mesh armor under it. The last one wasn't wearing much at all, with a mesh under armor with an orange skirt and a tan trench coat. She had purple hair in a spiky ponytail with shaggy hair and light brown eyes. Naruto and everyone were in a tree looking at the 2 spar. Naruto looked at his map and saw that the girl's signal was the one that was coming in and out, and Naruto still couldn't figure out why. Naruto was scratching his head and said, she doesn't look hurt. Then what could it be, said Sasuke. Hinata, Hanabi, could you check what her chakra looks like? They did, and they were confused at what they were seeing. The girl's chakra was mostly white with small patches that were the normal blue. Hinata and Hanabi told them this, and it just confused them farther. While Naruto was thinking, he noted that something was wrong. Where's the other woman at? It only took a moment for all the girls to leave the tree as Naruto was wrapped up in ninja wire and pulled out of the tree. Naruto was put to the ground and soon found the woman that was missing as her foot impacted his chest to keep him there. The girls also found her when Naruto grunted from the impact. What do we have here? The women said. Spies are getting small these days. Hey, I'm not a spy, Naruto exclaimed as he struggled to get free and untie me. All she did was tighten the wire. The others that were sparring stopped at this point and looked at Naruto and the others that jumped out of the tree. No, I don't think I will. Now, why were you watching us? The women asked. Why should I? Naruto asked. Because I'm second in command at torture and interrogation in the village, she said. We have ways of making you talk. Naruto looked a little scared for a moment but stuck to his guns. I'm not telling you nothing. A smile spread across her face and she said, well then let's get started, as she pulled out an elongated kunai. No, don't hurt him, Hinata exclaimed fearfully. The other women sighed and said, stop scaring the kids, Anko. The women looked at Hinata and asked, what are you kids doing here? Hinata looked at the women and then at Naruto, who was still struggling at the ever-tightening wire, who was looking at her and sighed defeated. Hinata answered, Naruto-kun was testing a new seal he was making. It was a chakra sensor seal and he got a strange reading, so we came here to find out what it was. The newly named Anko said, who was it coming from, thinking for a moment that it may be from the seal on her neck. It was coming from her, Hinata said, pointing at the girl who was currently behind the other women. Me, the girl said as everyone looked at her. Now that you know why we're here, untie me, Naruto yelled. Anko picked up Naruto and hugged him with his back to her and said, no, I think I'll keep you, as she licked the side of his face. Naruto didn't know how to feel about this situation he was in and looked to the others for help. The woman looked a bit tired and said, put the boy down, Anko, he's too young for you. Oh, Kurenai, always ruining my fun, Anko said as the wires came off Naruto and he scrambled over to his friends. Kurenai got everyone's attention and asked, so what was wrong with the seal? Naruto frowned at her calling his seal wrong and said, nothing's wrong with my seal, something's wrong with her. Sasuke and Hanabi face-palmed at that as Hinata tried to explain what was wrong with what he just said. Anko and Kurenai looked angry at that and the girl looked distraught at something being wrong with her. Naruto, sometimes you can really shove that foot in your mouth, can't you? Sasuke said. Naruto looked at Sasuke, while pointing at them, and said, they said there was something wrong with my seal. Hanabi stepped in and said, Naruto, that's not the point. I know calling one of your seals wrong is a sin in your book, but you just said that there's something wrong with her and that's rude, pointing's rude too, put your hand down. Naruto just looked confused at this point and Kurenai said, okay, what do you mean that there's something wrong with her and why can't you get a seal wrong? And for that matter, how did you know we were there? And don't tell me it was from a chakra sensor seal. Their range is about 200 meters and I would have sensed you if you were that close, Anko said. Naruto answered, it was a chakra sensor seal and when I got the basic one to work I was able to extend its range to 2 kilometers. And for your information, once I got the basics down I have never gotten a seal I've made wrong. Hanabi continued where he left off, the other reason we think it's her and not the seal is that her chakra is mostly white with spots of blue. Stop calling me her, my name is Yakumo of the Kurama clan, the newly named Yakumo exclaimed, and what is wrong with white chakra? Most chakra is a light blue color with a few exceptions like Naruto's chakra is a dark blue color but that is because he has so much of it, Hanabi said. Your chakra is white with small patches of blue that pop up every now and again. Can you use jutsu? Sasuke asked. I can only use gain jutsu in basic chakra exercises, Yakumo answered. This got Anko and Kurenai thinking. It sounded like Yakumo was missing part of her chakra and if, as they were saying, her chakra was white and she could use gain jutsu that she had spiritual energy but very little physical energy. That meant that she could use gain jutsu and even some taijutsu, but that would be hard without physical energy, and ninjutsu could be forever out of her reach. This left Kurenai a bit sad at the fact that her student could never learn and master some of the ninja arts. It did explain why their training had stalled. Why she could use tree walking and more than likely water walking but past that there would be nothing more she could learn outside gain jutsu. Anko on the other hand saw this as a way to more focus on the aspects of a ninja that she could learn. They could stop wasting half the day on Yakumo working on the basic 3. Anko saw the look on Kurenai's face and said, hey, don't get that look, Kurenai, this explains a lot and now we can narrow down her training now. Kurenai sighed and said, but this means she will only be able to master gain jutsu. Yakumo was confused at this and asked what they were talking about. So Anko and Kurenai explained to her what they had figured out and what it meant. So without physical energy I can only use gain jutsu and some taijutsu, because without physical energy after a while my muscles will fall like they're on fire. Is that right? Yakumo said. At her sensei and her friend's nod she continued, so be it, I already feel the burning on my muscles and now I can give up on ninjutsu so I can concentrate on my family's bloodline. Anko smiled at her statement but Kurenai didn't look so sure. Could Yakumo be a ninja without ninjutsu? There was the boy who got to be a ninja with only taijutsu but Kurenai wasn't sure she could push Yakumo in gain jutsu and taijutsu like Guy, Lee's teacher, does for Lee only in taijutsu. Are you sure about this? Kurenai asked. Yakumo nodded with a determined look on her face and said, yes, I want to be a ninja and make my clan proud. Kurenai still didn't look too sure about this whole thing. Then Naruto got an idea and said, what if we helped her with the physical part of her training? Kurenai turned to them and said, how? Well, we could make a seal that cuts down on the burning sensation but I would have to have help with that because I don't know much about the body, Naruto said and looked at Hinata. Can you help me, Hinata? Hinata looked surprised at being asked to help. You are the one of us that is looking into medical seals and probably know more about the body than any of us, Naruto finished. Hinata was surprised that Naruto thought of her. I don't know a lot. I'm positive that Yakumo's senseis would know more than I do, she said. Anko and Kurenai looked at Hinata and Anko said, I don't know a lot of medical ninjutsu, I just know poisons and antidotes, and Kurenai-chan is a gain jutsu mistress. More importantly, do you really think you can make a seal like that? Anko finished talking to Naruto. Naruto smiles and answered, Well, I made a chakra absorption and resistance seal to improve our training, so this shouldn't be more difficult than that. I just need more info on the body to know what I'm doing. We do know Hana Inazuka, she's a vet, but would help, Anko said. Kurenai was thinking hard on this and listening in on their conversion and asked, how long would it take you to make a seal like that? Naruto thought for a moment and said, I could probably have it done before we go back to the academy for our next year, so 2 months. Alright, if you can get it done by then we'll consider it, but if you can't I will have to look into alternatives, Kurenai said. Naruto, who was happy to be able to help someone with becoming a ninja, wanted to get right to work, but Sasuke stopped him, saying that he should meet Hana first. He nodded and set a date for them to come over to his apartment then, Anko, Hinata, and Hana the next day. Hinata wanted to refuse, but when Naruto insisted and said there may be more she could learn from Hana, she caved like a deck of cards. The next day Hinata showed up first and saw that Naruto's apartment was a bit of a mess and suggested that they clean it before the others got there. When they finished cleaning the kitchen and the floor was when Anko and someone whom they assumed was Hana came in. Hana had pale skin and long brown hair that she had in a ponytail. She had the red fangs of the Inazuka clan, like Kiba, and wore the standard Chunin vest that was open a little at the top and black shorts. She also had a tattoo on her upper right arm that resembles a flower. When they got there they stared to discuss the problem and possible solutions. It took about a week and a lot of work, but they came up with an idea. They would make 2 seals. One would be a red blood cell production seal that would be on Yakumo's hips that would double, maybe triple the amount of red blood cells in her body. The other would be on her throat and collarbone that would take in more oxygen to give to the red blood cells. With these 2 seals it would give what little physical energy she had and maximize its effectiveness. Now that was the easy part. The next part was making the seals, and that would take a few weeks. In this time it was mostly Naruto asking questions about the body and Hinata learning what she could from Hana. During all this Hana and Anko were also learning a bit more about seals. It was about a week in when Anko noted some scrolls on Naruto's desk in his room and looked at them. When she found out about the contents she had to laugh. Little Naruto was learning Henjutsu and the scrolls on his desk weren't the basics, they were more toward the intermediate level and a few jutsu. When she brought it up in front of everyone Naruto couldn't look at anyone, and when Hinata found out what it was she invented a new red. When Hinata found out that Sasuke was helping him in the art, well, her mouth worked faster than her brain when she said she would help him practice too. That day was the best, and most embarrassing, in her life because like Sasuke thought Hinata was putty in his hands, and while getting the massages she let out a loud moan. Hana and Anko were doing their best not to laugh, but it was a losing battle. The seal was done about 2 weeks before the next school year, so they got to work. Naruto told Anko to have Yakumo come in a bikini because Naruto would have to work on her collarbone and hips. This let Anko have her fun teasing him about wanting to see Yakumo naked. She left a blushing Naruto to give Yakumo the massage. The next day Naruto, Kurenai, and Yakumo met in the training ground they first met in, and Naruto said to Yakumo, "Are you ready to get started?" Yakumo nodded her head a bit embarrassed and took off her purple kimono, revealing a black bikini as she laid down on the ground. Kurenai was not happy about a boy seeing her student in that, especially after learning that Naruto is also learning seduction, but Anko assured her that it was necessary. After she lay down Naruto got the ink ready and knelt next to her. "This will be cold and tickle a bit, but try not to move," Naruto said. Yakumo nodded and tried to relax as Naruto got started on her neck and collarbone. The first one took about 20 minutes, and when it was activated it looked like a choker with the word oxygen in a circle in the middle around her neck. The ones on her hips took a bit longer at 30 minutes, and when activated looked like 2 elongated swirls with a thick black line with 4 prongs coming out on both her hips. With that done Naruto checked to see if the seals were working okay, and when he saw they were he smiled at his work. Naruto took her hand to help her up and said, "The seal are working and it should take about 2 weeks for the red blood cell seal to reach its max production. The air seal should be working now and should also filter out poisons that are inhaled." Yakumo looked at the seals on her hips and felt the one on her neck and pulled Naruto into a hug. "Thank you for helping me to achieve my dream, Naruto-kun," she said in the hug. Naruto hugged back and said, I'm glad I could help. With this Naruto made a new friend and a new training partner. When Naruto was cleaning his desk one day he saw that he had a lot of seals around his apartment from all the practice he does. He relished now that when he learned the seal divide jutsu, that turns one large seal into multiple seals, he had to have dozens of explosive, trap, and security seals all over his desk. When he brought it up during a training session Sasasha said maybe he should sell them to a weapon shop as they also seal the basic seals and could probably sell his extra seals. The next morning Naruto put on the black silk slack shirt and pants that Hinata had gotten his for his birthday with an orange tie. He went shop to shop trying to sell his seals but he was having no luck in selling them and some of the time getting in the door. He now was going into a shop called the Steel Claw. When he walked in he saw a young woman, wearing a leaf headband, with brown hair that was tied in buns on her head. She had on a pink Chinese-style shirt with dark green pants that. The clothes were a bit tight and showed off her small B-cup breast, shapely hips, and long legs. She looked up from the magazine she was reading and said with a smile, "Hi, I'm Tenten, how may I help you?" "Hi, my name is Naruto and I was wondering if I could talk to the owner," Naruto asked. "Sure, let me go get him," Tenten said as she moved to the back of the store, where Naruto saw where the forge was. Tenten came back with a bear of a man that had short brown hair and a brown shirt and a black apron. The man said, "How may I help you?" Hi, my name is Naruto and I've been studying seal for a while and I was wondering if you would be interested in the seals I've made," Naruto said, putting on his best salesman smile. Tenten about rolled her eyes at Naruto because there was no way a boy this young could know much on seals, he only looked about 13 or 14. She had been studying her last year at the academy when she looked into the art. "I mean, if you have as big an interest in weapons as she does, there is only so much room in your closet to put them." The man on the other hand knew not to judge a book by its cover. He did get some people to come in and try to seal him something about once a week. Sometimes people can surprise you. On the other hand, that was only 1 out of 10 that came into his shop. "So let's see what you have, boy," the man said. Naruto didn't like being called boy but let it go because he was trying to make money, and Hanabi said that he should work on his attitude a little, not to be rude to people. Naruto got out a scroll and get it on the counter with a poof of smoke. There was 3 stacks of seals and a stack of metal ring and clamps. Naruto pointed to the first 2 stacks of seals and said, "These are explosive and flash seals," then pointing at the last stack, "And these are a sealing trap I call chakra threading." The man looked at the stacks and was a little surprised. The boy had at least 100 of each of the seals. As the man looked at the seals, that both the flash and the explosive seal had a timed and proximity triggers. He then passed the seal to his employee and looked at the trap seal. He had a decent grasp on Fuinjutsu and was impressed that a boy was advanced enough to make these. Tenten was thinking maybe she was a little too quick to judge Naruto if he could already make something like this. She could make something like that too. She was a bit more advanced than these seal, and when she looked at the trap seal she also understood those, but thoughts were probably her limit. The man looked at Naruto and said, "These aren't bad and there are quite a few of them, but what are the clamps and rings?" Naruto picked up one of each and said, "These are book and scroll security clamps. They can be set to blood, chakra, and password and have some durability seals on the metal so someone can't just break or cut them off. The seal would be work better if they were carved or forged into the metal, but I don't know how to do that. I know that they can take being thrown in a fire with a scroll, and both the clamp and the book or seal would be fine." Now the man and Tenten were impressed. The man know that those would seal pretty well and the other seal were good too. He knows Tenten could make these seal, her knowledge in seal is part of the reason he hired her, and all the other seals would be quick sellers. "Tell me, boy, how many of these could you make in a day?" the man asked. "I could make hundreds if I put my mind to it," Naruto said. Tenten was shocked at this and asked how. "I used the seal divide jutsu, it lakes one big seal and splits them into smaller seals," Naruto answered. The man went behind his desk and pulled out some ink and a big sheet of paper and said, "Show me." Naruto shrugged his shoulders and got to work. Tenten and her boss were surprised at how fluid Naruto could write seal, and how his brush never seemed to run out of ink mid-stroke. When he was done they saw that it was a new type of seal. From what they could tell it was a combination between storage and an explosive seal. After he was done he went there a few hand seals and touched the paper. The end result was 20 seal, about half the size of a normal seal. Then Naruto took out a few cases full of senbon needles and put about 20 in each seal. With that done he took out a kunai and cut up the seals. Tenten and her boss looked at the new seal and saw that it was a trap seal that purpled weapons in a given direction. Well Naruto-san, I'm impressed that someone your age besides Tenten can make seal this good, so I'll make you a deal. I will buy some seals from you and I will even teach you to forge if you want, the man said. How many? Naruto asked. The man thought for a moment and said, how about 500 a month of each of the seals we saw today, and if you chose to learn to forge I will want about 200 of each the book and scroll security sealing clamps. Naruto was shocked at the number. That would be 2,000 paper seals a month. He knew he could do it if he worked on it a day or 2 full days a month, but that was a lot of seals. How much? Naruto asked. If he was going to make that many seal he wanted to get paid. Man took out a piece of paper and wrote down some quick numbers. He figured he could make 1,000 yen on each trap seal and 3,500 on the clamps. So his total profit would be about 3.5 million yen. I will give you 400,000 yen for the paper seals and 600,000 for the book and scroll security clamps. I will also teach you to forge the rings and clamps, the man said. Naruto's jaw about hit the floor at the number. With that kind of money coming in every month and learning to forge he could buy just about anything he wanted. Naruto put out his hand and said, you have yourself a deal. The man smiled and shook Naruto's hand as he knew this was the beginning of a very profitable friendship. While over the summer as Naruto was helping Yakumo on her seal he started to learn some wind jutsu because by the middle of summer he had been able to split his leaf. He learned wind-style gale palm, wind senbon, and he was working on making a wind clone. He still couldn't do a basic clone. Hinata and Hanabi decided to learn what their elements were. Hinata had water and Hanabi had earth. They started to learn their elemental control exercise for their elements. Hinata had to lift a 6-inch ball of water out of a pond and Hanabi had to turn a leaf to dust. They were all practicing with their element in one of the uchiha training grounds with a small lake in it. They were all working with their elements. Sasuke was finishing her control exercise and she nearly had it and was going to work on some jutsu next. Hinata was making the water ripple but no water was coming up. Hanabi had made about the same amount of progress with her leaf only drying it a little. Hanabi looked up from her leaf and said, there's a storm coming, I think we should get out of here. Sasuke nodded and said, yeah, we should head home. Looking at the storm clouds rolling their way, it looks like a pretty bad storm. Naruto was going throw hand seals for what must have been the 50th time and the wind picked up next to him. It started to turn into a Naruto shape. It had the arms and legs and most of the chest before it exploded into a gust of wind. Naruto caught his breath and said, I want to get this jutsu down before going home. Alright, don't stay out here too long or you might catch a cold, Sasuke said. Hanabi turned to her sister and said, are you coming, Wani-chan? Hinata shook her head and said, I want to practice a little more before going home. I'll be home in a little while. Okay Wani-chan, don't stay out too long, Hanabi said as she headed home. Sasuke saw this as an opportunity to tease Hinata a bit. She walked up behind Hinata and whispered in her ear, work hard on this and maybe you can ask Naruto to work hard on you. Sasuke finished with a smile. Hinata turned red and went back to work with a little more determination now. Sasuke then said bye and went home to her brooding brother. It wasn't 15 minutes later when Naruto was getting frustrated with the clone. He could get the body to form but the head wouldn't and a headless would stay a moment before it exploded. In Naruto's frustration he put in way too much chakra and a mini tornado touched down next to him. When the tornado vanished in its place was a girl in her late teens with white hair that went down to her shoulders and electric blue eyes. She was wearing a blue-gray kimono with what looked like storm clouds on it. She looked at herself a little and what was around her and smiled. The commotion got Hinata's attention and saw the girl and looked from her to Naruto wondering if he had an explanation. Naruto looked confused at the girl and asked, how are you because you defiantly aren't my clone. So this is the mortal plane, the girl said as she continued to look around and at herself, totally ignoring Naruto's question. Naruto took out a kunai and Hinata got into the huge stance and asked again, "Who are you?" The girl looked at them with a big smile and said, "Hello, I'm Erasure, who are you?" Naruto answered, "I'm Naruto, what are you and why did you appear where my clone was going to?" "I'm a storm spirit and it's always so boring as a spirit, all I can do is make storms like that one and throw lightning at people," Erasure said as she pointed at the storm clouds rolling toward them. "How I got here was that you used so much energy that I was able to use it to get here. It's so much more interesting here than it is in the spirit realm." "So you are just bored and desisted to come?" Naruto asked confused. Erasure nodded and said, "It's so much fun watching you mortals try to gain control over our elements." "So you just want to have some fun here?" Hinata asked. Erasure answered, "Yes, it's so rare for a spirit to come here, it's fun to watch mortals use our elements in such interesting ways." "Erasure, what are the elements that you can use?" Naruto asked. "I can control the wind, water, and lightning. I use them to create all kinds of different storms," Erasure answered with a bit of pride. "Can you help Hinata out with her control on the water?" Naruto asked. "Sure," Erasure said existed to help. They told her the exercise and she did it without moving her hand or anything. Erasure had Hinata do the exercise and she saw the problem. "You are trying to force the water where it doesn't want to go. You have to let the water flow into the ball and then lift it," Erasure said. Hinata took the advice and let the water flow. She swirled the water into a bulge on the water's surface had when she got about half a ball it popped. At this point Naruto hugged Hinata and said, "That was great Hinata, you'll have this down in no time." Hinata blushed at how close Naruto was to her and hugged back. "Erasure, would you like to stay with us? I'm sure we could have lots of fun together," Naruto asked. Erasure smiled and answered, "I would love to Naruto," and held out her hand to Naruto. Naruto took it and there was a pain in his right shoulder. He pulled up his shirt sleeve and there was the word storm that looked like it was branded into his shoulder. "There we have a contract and I'm now bowed to you," Erasure said. "Contract?" Naruto asked. "Yep, now I can come to this plane any time I want and you can call me to play or help you out," Erasure said. "Cool," Naruto said as he looked at his shoulder. "Erasure, is there a way for you to hide so it won't be too suspicious coming into town with you?" "Sure," Erasure said as she turns into an eagle. It was about 2.5 feet tall and had a white head with bark blue feathers with white tips. "Beautiful," Hinata said. "Thank you," Erasure said. "Let's get out of there before it starts to storm," Naruto said as Erasure perched herself on his shoulder. They were walking through the Uchiha district when it started to rain and they took shelter in one of the abandoned houses. When they got inside and it started to pouring outside. They asked Erasure if she could stop the rain but she said no because it's easy to start a storm but stopping one is extremely difficult. Hinata was blushing at the thought of being alone with her, well mostly alone. Erasure was there but she was admiring her handiwork outside. Hinata desisted to go with Sasuke's suggestion and asked, "Naruto-kun, could you give me a massage while we wait?" "Sure Hinata, but you do know you will have to lose most of those clothes," Naruto said. Hinata, still blushing, nodded and said, "I have a new bathing suit with me so I will just change into that." Naruto nodded and Hinata went into another room. He unsealed a futon that he had. Sasuke had been a bit demanding of his massages lately and he just carried one with him now. Next he took out a scroll with a jutsu on it he was going to try this time. It was called Heated Touch and it worked the deeper muscles and gave the recipient a sense of warmer and increased the recipients their sensitivity to pleasure. Hinata came back into the room and was wearing a lavender-colored one-piece that was cut to look like a two-piece. The suit left her stomach and back exposed and the top and bottom were connected by a pair of silver rings. There was also another silver ring between both the cups of the top. Naruto thought the suit looked good on her and said so to her, only making her blush harder. She said a quick thank you and lay down on the futon. Naruto desisted to take off his shirt and Hinata had a hard time looking away from him. All the spars with them and his recent interest in forging had been great to his body. Naruto started with a normal massage and worked her shoulders, back, and legs. Hinata was trying not to be vocal about what she was feeling, but it was hard. She was still giving small groans and moans in pleasure as Naruto worked her back. This was music to Naruto's ears, and he worked to find the notes in Hinata's muscles and find the places that were the most pleasurable to her. He found that she reacted to most of what he did, but she was the most vocal when Naruto worked her back. That might be because of the near D cup she had on her chest, which Naruto wasn't complaining about. When he was done with the basic massage, he went into more detail with the heated touch. Hinata really tried to keep her voice to a minimum, it was hard, but when Naruto's hands started to heat up and reach deeper into, she resisted, for about 7 seconds. After that there was no more groans, they were all soft to mild moans, and she just couldn't stop them. Her body seemed to heat up and the heat seemed to travel to her breasts and between her legs. Naruto during all this was enjoying all the sound she was making and was trying to make her make new ones. After he started to use the heat touch, Hinata started to smell really good. He had found out one day working with Hana that he could smell better than most people, not as good as an Inuzuka, but still pretty good. The smell kept getting stronger, and when Naruto was working her legs and thighs, when he found the sources of the smell. When he was working the inside of her thigh, Naruto touched a clear liquid, and from all the books he had read he knew what it was and desisted to have a little fun. Naruto said in a lower voice, "You're really enjoying this, aren't you, Hinata?" Hinata hummed as an answer to distracted to notes the change in his voice. Naruto smiled and continued, "How about I make you feel even better?" Hinata's legs were a little apart and Naruto used his hand and started to rub in between her legs. Hinata, not expecting this at all, let out a loud moan. Hinata froze and asked in a shaky voice, "What are you doing there, Naruto-kun?" Naruto got down to her ear and whispered into her ear, "I'm making you feel even better, aren't I?" as Naruto continued to rub between her legs. Hinata's only response was another loud moan and a shiver went down her spine. Naruto gently turned her over and got a good look at her. She was breathing a bit hard and her nipples were hard. She had sweat forming on her body, and a dark spot between her legs. Hinata was blushing hard when she saw Naruto looking at her with a bit of hunger in his eyes. She knew she couldn't say no to him. She nodded her head a little, but Naruto wanted something else. "Beautiful, may I continue?" Naruto said. It only took a moment for Hinata to get what he wanted her to say it. In a breathless voice she said, "Yes." Naruto didn't need any more incentive and moved to knead Hinata's breast, and his other hand goes to the top of her suit. Hinata was moaning and had a grip on the futon. Naruto's hand pulled down one side of the swim suit and he started to suck on the breast he wasn't kneading. Naruto worked down the other side of her suit as Hinata got her arms out of the top of the suit. Naruto got right back to work and Hinata let out a small scream as she was arching her back into his hand and mouth. Naruto continued to work the bathing suit down Hinata's hips and he got his first look at Hinata naked and he loved what he saw. Hinata tried to cover herself, but Naruto stopped her and said, "You look absolutely stunning, Hinata. What do you want me to do?" Hinata knew he wouldn't continue until he got an answer and said, "More, Naruto-kun, more." Naruto smiled and said, "I'm going to taste you, Hinata-chan," and he got right to work. Hinata shivered at Naruto's bluntness, and when he first licked her she couldn't stop a mid-scream from coming from her throat. When he started to suck on her silt she screamed loudly and she might have pulled out some of Naruto's hair. She was riding wave after wave of pleasure at what Naruto was doing. As Naruto continued his assault on her, she felt a coiling in her stomach and she knew what was coming. She saw Naruto put his hand on her lower stomach and pushed a burst of heated touch directly into her womb. That was all it took for Hinata to have the biggest orgasm of her life as her came, with the loudest scream yet, on Naruto's tongue. Naruto loved the way she tasted as he licked it off her, prolonging her orgasm. When he was done he got up and got a good look at her. He wished he had a camera right now. Sweat covered her body, legs spread, chest heaving to get the air back in her lungs, and she was shivering a little. She was biting her finger, which did nothing to stop her scream, and her eyes were glazed over. She looked absolutely beautiful in Naruto's eyes. Naruto took her finger out of her mouth and Hinata's eyes came back into forces as she looked at Naruto. There was no blush on her face for once, still riding her sexual high, as she wrapped her arms around his neck. "I love you," Hinata said in a clear and loving voice and pulled Naruto down for a kiss. Naruto was stunned at her words but slowly melted into the kiss, which was quickly becoming more heated. Hinata got to know what she tasted like and Naruto got to taste Hinata's tonsils. They finally blocked the kiss so they could breathe, and Naruto looked into Hinata's eyes and saw nothing but love and lust. "Did you mean that, Hinata-chan?" Naruto asked. "Yes, Naruto-kun, I've had a crush on you for a long time, and when we started to train together it slowly turned to love. I never told you because I didn't want to be rejected," Hinata answered. She smiled and ran her fingers through Naruto's hair, "And to think, all you had to do to get me to say it was to make it so I couldn't think straight." "Hinata-chan, I can't tell you I love you too," Naruto said, which made Hinata look sad. He continued, "I can't because I don't know what love is, Hinata." "Maybe you can show me, Hinata-chan." Naruto finished putting a hand on Hinata's cheek. Hinata smiled at that last part and said, "I'll try my best," and brought Naruto in for another kiss. "I think we should stop now if you don't want to go farther because I'm hard as a rock right now," Naruto said. Hinata couldn't help it and looked down at his pants and saw that he indeed was. She blushed and nodded her head. They got up and Hinata got into the other room to change. When she got into the other room she couldn't help herself and turned on her Byakugan. Naruto was at full mast at 6.5 inches at the age of 13. Hinata knew he had a few more years to grow and that he was going to make her scream in the near future. Naruto walked up to Erasure and held out his arm and she jumped on. He started to stroke her head and said, "Did you enjoy the show, Erasure?" "Oh yes, it was interesting to see a mortal mating ritual up close," Erasure said. Naruto looked embarrassed and said, "Well, we didn't mate, that was just foreplay." "You were just playing. Can you play with me like that?" Erasure asked. Naruto, still blushing at the question, and said, "Well, if you want, I would have to ask Hinata first because I'm pretty sure we're boyfriend and girlfriend now." Hinata came out at the boyfriend comment and blushed but asked, "What did you have to ask me, Naruto-kun?" Naruto turned to her and said, "Erasure saw what we did and asked if I could play with her like that." Hinata turned red at the question and that she forgot that Erasure was there. She answered, "I don't mind if you play with her or the others, just don't go any further than we have." Naruto smiled and said, "Okay, Hinata-chan," as he held out his hand, which Hinata took, and pulled her to him and spun her around and put her back to his chest. He put her in a one-arm hug and whispered in her ear, "And maybe you can help me practice more." Hinata shivered at the comment and reached up to run a hand through his hair and said, "I'd love to." Naruto looked outside at the weather. It had stopped raining momentarily, so they desisted to run home now before it started again. When they got to Hinata's compound first and said a quick goodbye and a kiss on the cheek. But they were seen by someone and that someone went back into the compound after they saw. Hinata was on cloud 9 on her way to her room. She had told Naruto her feelings and he accepted them. When she got to her room she desisted, she needed a bath to get rid of the smell of sex off her. When she was getting her stuff she didn't notice his door open and closes quietly. The person got behind her and said, "Did you enjoy your time with Naruto-kun, Wani-chan?" Hinata jumped and turned around to face Hanabi, "And from what I smell you enjoyed it a lot." Hinata blushed at already being found out and tried to play it off, "Yes, I did enjoy it, but what smell are you taking about? Don't give me that I've walked in on you in the thongs of passion on yourself. I know what it smells like, and that goodnight kiss Naruto gave you at the door makes it pretty easy to know something happened," Hanabi said. Hinata knew she had been caught and said they would talk in the bath. When they both had their bath robes they went to the hot springs that were in the compound. They set up a privacy seal and took off their robes and got into the water. Hanabi asked what happened and Hinata told her all of it, from the storm spirit to the good-night kiss at the door. Hanabi was happy that her sister got her feelings out to Naruto and that her sister didn't stop Naruto from giving them those killer massages. Maybe she will go for what Hinata got next time. Hinata asked if anything interesting happened at home. Hanabi said it was the same with the elders pushing her to best Hinata in their monthly spars and it was really getting on her nerves. Maybe she could do something to get back at them. The end. So how was this part? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this part with your friends, and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.